Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Stories with Theo Mayer. Another late one. As I mentioned on day 75, I was going to begin some Czechoslovakian tales. And this first tale that I'm going to tell is a story called Krakonos. Now, supposedly, back in the mountains of that land, there were once many giants that roamed through the mountains there. But at this point in time, there's only one left, and his name is Krakonos. Now he's a moody giant, one could say. When he's in a good mood, well, the sounds that you'll be hearing from the mountains are some of the best you'll ever hear. These wonderful laughs just echoing from mountain to mountain. But when he's angry, thunder is what you'd hear rolling through those mountains, sometimes accompanied by bursts of lightning. He has, or had, maybe he still has, a lack of fondness for people who are more greedy, stingy, people that aren't very nice. And so one way or another, he'll do his best to teach a good lesson to someone that needs it. Now, there was a little town called Ruknis, and it's spelled RokYtnice. Now, how would you pronounce that? Ruknis? In this little town, there was a widow, old widow, and it came to pass she just didn't have any food left in her larder. It was just gone. Nothing really to eat. And when she went out to her chicken coop to search for eggs, all she was able to come up with were 3 eggs. Now, it's a long way down to this town called Jablonek. And in Jablonek, there was a market that day. And if she'd had more eggs, she would have willingly gone down there to sell her eggs. But it was a long ways, 4 hours to get there. So she went to a neighbor, actually more than one, and asked if she might borrow a few pounds of potatoes, some flour, and maybe some oil or some lard. Not much, but enough to get through the day, or maybe 2. But none of her neighbors were willing to give her anything. And one neighbor, who was basically the storekeeper, she kept a shop and kept plenty of goods there to sell to her other neighbors. She wouldn't give her anything on credit at all. Well, the old widow thought, I really don't have a choice. I'm going to have to take this 4-hour trip into town and try to sell these eggs. So she put them in a little basket and off she went. Down the trail, down the mountain, to where the river of Ruknis flowed past the town of Jablonek. Now, she had not gotten very far when she heard and saw ahead of her an old man. He wasn't walking very quickly, and he was wheezing as he walked, coughing sometimes, and having to stop every dozen steps or so to catch his breath. It didn't take her long before she passed him by. And she'd only gone 20 steps or so past him when he called out, "Mother, Mother." She turned around and asked, "What is it?" "Mother, I'm just starving of hunger. I'm wondering if you'd have anything you could share with me to eat." Well, all I have is these 3 eggs, and I need to be selling them down in the market, so I need to keep going." She turned to go, and he said, "Mother, could I have one of your eggs?" She stopped and looked at him, and she said, No, I can't give you one of my eggs. I need to sell these." And she turned and walked about 5 steps away from the old man, and she turned around and walked back to him and took one of her eggs and gave it to him. "Here you go," she said. I don't know how you're going to eat it, but good luck with it. And okay, goodbye." She turned and started back down the mountain. Well, she walked for maybe 15, 20 minutes or so, and she heard the voice of the old man again behind her. "Mother," it called out. Now, she thought, wow, he has quite a powerful voice, because she assumed that she had left him far behind. But she turned to look, and he was only 20 or so paces behind her. She turned and stopped and said, "What is it now?" "Oh, that was just the most delicious egg. Thank you so much. But I'm afraid it's only whetted my appetite. I'm wondering if you could give me another egg." The widow sighed. She took out the egg, a second egg, and gave it to the old man. "Here you go," she said. She looked down the mountain toward the valley, as if there was something there that would capture her interest. And then she looked back toward her home. And then she looked back down the valley and back up toward her home. She did this a number of times, and finally she turned and began walking home with her one egg. Now, she was just getting in sight of her village when she heard behind her again the voice of the old man. "Mother!" The old man called out. She turned. "Yes, what is it?" "There is one more egg, isn't there?" he asked. "Yes, there's one more egg." "Well, I'm wondering if I could buy it from you." She said, "Yes, that would be great. You might as well, yeah, buy it. But let's say that, well, you're buying all 3. He said, Fine, that's fine. And how much is it?" he asked. She said, "You might as well name your price. Whatever you'd like to pay, that's just fine." He said, Okay. Well, I was going to give you 3 golden ducats for the last egg, but since you're the boss and since you're selling all 3, I'll give you a golden ducat for each egg. We took 3 golden ducats and placed it in the old widow's hand. And he took the egg, and just like that, he was gone. Well, the widow could not stop looking in her hand. for in the palm of her hand were 3 golden coins. Well, with a quickened pace, she made her way to the neighbors, the one who kept all the stores. And she said, "I'd like a bushel of potatoes, a sack of flour, and a tub of lard, please." And the neighbor said, "I told you I'm not going to be giving you anything on credit. How do you expect to pay for all this?" "With this," the old widow said, and she took out one of the golden ducats and held it in front of her neighbor. Her neighbor's eyes grew big. She couldn't believe it. She said, oh my. Oh, where did you get that?" the neighbor asked. And then she began to scurry around like a barnyard hen, searching for bugs. She was gathering potatoes and flour and a tub of lard, and she gave it to the neighbor. And, well, the widow had no problem telling the woman how she'd come across the golden ducats. Oh, said her neighbor, I forgot, I need to go to town. Well, right now, I tell you what, I don't have change for that. I mean, obviously. So I need to go to town to get change anyway. And, well, I tell you what, why don't you just take those things as a gift from me? And yeah, that'll be great. So yes, please be on your way. I really need to get down to town. Well, the town of Jablonek. So the widow was almost pushed out of the woman's shop. And once the door was closed, the woman, the shopkeeper, she began to gather eggs. She thought, oh my, if an egg can fetch the price of a golden ducat right up here in the mountains, then certainly in the town of Jablonek, they will be worth much more. I should be able to charge at least 2 ducats each, maybe 3. She gathered all the eggs she could find and put them in a basket. We'll stop the story there. Find out what happens next. Okay. Join tomorrow for the end of the story. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.